Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. A black Republican in Virginia sends a misleading mailer to black Virginia voters ahead of a crucial redistricting vote. We'll show you the flyer and give you his response. Also, he wouldn't come on our show. The twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump is pushing the Senate to pass the Save America Act, which aims to suppress your vote. A Tennessee Republican state representative is pushing for history to be whitewashed, but gets called out by two black Democrats and a Republican. We'll show you how she got fact-checked on the State House floor. The Treaty of 1866 guaranteed full citizenship for Black Creek Freedmen, yet Muscogee Nation leaders still have not complied since their Supreme Court rule. We'll be joined by attorney Damario Solomon-Simmons. Also, folks, tonight's Shop Black Star Network Marketplace, the founder of Ava's Pet Palace, started in 2016, 8 years old, has now turned her love of pets into a nationwide brand. Also, I got a few things to say about MAGA and Reverend Jackson, and also, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah, it's Uncle Roro, y'all. Yeah, it's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
A black Donald Trump supporter is misleading black voters in Virginia. The Republican-aligned political group, Democracy and Justice PAC, chaired by former Virginia delegate A.C. Cordoza, is under fire for sending misleading mailers to black voters ahead of the state's special redistricting election. The mailer compares the referendum to Jim Crow-era voter suppression. It includes images of Klansmen and civil rights marchers urging voters to vote no on this measure that would allow the state to redraw its congressional districts. But it does not contain any detailed information about the referendum ballot measure itself. Virginia black leaders say the messaging is misinforming and divisive. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus and the NAACP Virginia State Conference both support the referendum, arguing redistricting could protect fair representation and counter manipulative tactics and threaten civil rights. Now, the vote, of course, is part of a national fight over gerrymandering, as Republican-controlled states like Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, and others recently redrew maps in ways critics say weakens minority voting power. Democrats in Virginia are urging voters to vote yes on the referendum, which would allow the state to redraw its maps. Now, early voting runs now through April 18th, with a special election taking place on April 21st. Now, show the flyer again. Pull the flyer up. Pull the flyer up. Come on. Guys, could you please show? No, the flyer. We just showed the flyer. Thank you. Come on, show that. Yes. Okay, this is the flyer. Or freeze it. Just like Jim Crow, our ancestors fought to represent us. Now Richmond politicians are trying to take our districts away. Y'all, that's a lie. Let me be real clear. They're not taking away black districts. That is an absolute, fundamental, undeniable lie. Now, the brother who was behind this, we reached out to. Initially, he said yes, he would come on the show, but then he then called back and said, no, I can't do it. Yeah, I wonder why he sort of had that change of heart. So give me 1 second. I want to show y'all this here. So he sent us this statement, and let me provide it for y'all. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, let's see here. All right then. You're not seeing my iPad. Here we go. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna show y'all this here, and so this is what. Let's see here. We're not showing me yet. All right, come on. Let's see what's going on here. Hopefully it connects now. All right. Okay, here we go. So this was a statement that A.C. Cardoza sent us. Y'all go ahead and y'all pull it up. Y'all have it there. No, y'all pull it up. Y'all have the statement. Pull the statement up. So he says, Richmond politicians have ripped apart majority-minority districts in order to increase the number of white representatives from Northern Virginia. Dan Helmer, Don Beyer, and others diluted African-American vote strength to increase their own power. Plain and simple, some things never change. They help themselves, my community gets left behind. Okay, A.C. Cardoza, y'all, is lying. A.C., let me say this again. I need everybody in Virginia to understand, A.C. Cardoza is lying. Who was the force behind? Who was the force behind 10-1? You see what he's doing? He's trying to say two white men are behind this. This was one of the leaders right here, Louise Lucas. Fox News did a story on her, and this was her quote to them: "Y'all started, and we effing finished it." A.C. Cardoza is lying. He don't want to say that Louise Lucas, the Senate pro tem leader, is the one who led this in the Senate. What he also doesn't want to do is he also does not want to tell folk that the person in the House is Speaker Don Scott. Let me say it again. He doesn't want to do that. Y'all see what he's doing. He's trying to sit here and make it clear that he wants, this is the lie the Republicans are pushing. A.C. Cardoza is pushing the lie that it's white Republicans. No. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and play this for y'all. That was a meeting that took place, and this is the black Speaker of the House in Virginia, Don Scott, and the black Speaker pro tem in the Senate, Louise Lucas, coming out to address the media. the day before it passed the General Assembly. 2 black people are behind this. Listen.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Look, Donald Trump knows he's going to lose the midterms. He knows it. That's why he's started this mess in the first place. I tried to tell you all that. First he calls Texas, give me more seats. Then that's not enough. So he calls North Carolina, Missouri, Ohio. I need more, I need more. Today we are leveling the playing field. These are not ordinary times, and Virginia will not sit on the sidelines while it happens. We made a promise to level the playing field, and today we're keeping our promise. Our maps are ready, Virginia's ready. We said 10-1, and we meant it. And we are proud to deliver a map that stands up for democracy, to stand up for Virginians, to stand up and give us a voice. He started this mess, and Virginia is going to finish it.
Virginia to the rescue. Senator Lucas said it best. We've been working really hard to make sure that we got this delivered. This is about leveling the playing field across the country. Republicans are gerrymandering maps to override the will of the voters. We just saw it in Texas, North Carolina, and Missouri. At Donald Trump's direction, they're manipulating election maps because they know they can't win on their agenda in 2026. So instead of changing their ideas, they're trying to rig the system. A 10-1 map levels the playing field, and we're ready to move forward. Today we're making good on our promise by releasing the maps publicly. We're going to get them released either by the end of the day or early tomorrow. We'll get those maps released. And putting them out in the open and allowing them to be debated the way they should be in a democracy. We're going to leave it up to Virginia voters. The maps are ready. Virginia's ready. And as my senator said many times, 10-1. 10-1. Thank y'all.
So again, A.C. Cardoza, now go back to my iPad. These are the 2 black people leading the effort in Virginia, not white Virginians. Oh, nice try. Y'all put a black Republican up. Now, Cardoza, you're more than welcome to come on the show to discuss it. I mean, my producer reached out to you, and you said you were going to make some time, but then you're like, oh, no, I can't do it. Did somebody tell you not to come on my show, AC? I would love for you to come explain these flyers. Show them again. Show the flyers, okay? Roll the video out the flyer. Here we go. I want you to freeze it right there. Come on. Now that's right there. Vote no and return your ballot to ensure your voice is heard. Y'all, this is a lie. This is how white Republicans pimp black Republicans to try to fool black people. This is nonsense. Now show the other one, y'all, because it's before this one. It's a video. Roll the video. Roll it. Freeze right there. Look at them. You freeze. Y'all see this here? Just like Jim Crow, they want to silence your voice. Vote no and return your ballot immediately to ensure your voice is heard. This is the lie that they are pushing in Virginia because they are afraid of Virginia doing this. Now let me remind y'all, the United States Supreme Court ruled that they have no role to play in political gerrymandering. Now, I would ask A.C. Cardoza, A.C., were you critical when Republicans in Texas created 5 seats in their favor? Were you critical when Republicans in Missouri took the congressional? And see, A.C., I'm going to give you the questions in advance. Since you care about minority representation, A.C. Cardoza, are you on the record criticizing white Republicans in Missouri for gerrymandering the seat of Congressman Emanuel Cleaver? I would ask you this, A.C. Cardoza. Are you calling out white Republicans in North Carolina for gerrymandering the seat of CBC member Don Davis? Are you, A.C. Cardoza, calling out white Republicans in Texas for going from 4 black seats to 2 in Texas? I'm just curious. A.C. Cardoza, did you call out Governor Ron DeSantis 2 years ago when he redrew the lines in Florida that eliminated a black member of Congress? I'll wait. A.C. Cardoza, have you weighed in on the Louisiana versus Calais decision that could wipe out black representation all across the South? I'll wait. A.C. Cardoza, Have you called out the white Republican in Tarrant County who gerrymandered out the commissioner seat, a black commissioner, Elisa Simmons? To me, these are fair questions. If you are going to present a flyer saying this about Democrats in Virginia, are you quiet when white Republicans have done it across the country? Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA out of Washington, D.C., will be with us. And Randy Bryant, entrepreneur, author, speaker out of D.C. Dr. Larry J. Walker, associate professor, University of Central Florida out of Orlando. Glad to have both of y'all here. Larry, I'll start with you. I'm just asking a very basic question. If A.C. Cardoza is concerned about black representation, was he silent when Republicans did this to black people all across the country? I think he probably was quiet, Larry.
He was quiet as a church mouse. And, you know, Roland, one of the problems when we see this, and we've seen this for the last several years, is when black folks are used as essentially as kind of a mask in terms of what right wingers are really trying to do to disenfranchise black voters. So this is just another example. Obviously, he doesn't want to come on your show and deal with any of this smoke, but it's always troubling to me to see a black face put on to, like I said, prevent black folks from making sure all the rights that we fought for over the centuries and throughout the Jim Crow era and fighting for the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to a position now where you say you have the two top representatives in both chambers are black folks who are fighting to challenge some of the issues you see in the state of Florida. You'll see redistricting coming up soon in April. What we saw in Texas and some of the other states you identified. This is an all hands on deck situation. This is why Senator Lucas called out the leader in Maryland in terms of redistricting. This is not a game. And if we don't take the necessary steps to address what's happening in Texas and some of the other states, black folks are going to be locked out, and it's going to dilute black political power. And this is ultimately what is the aim, to make sure they also rig the game in terms of more white males hold positions of power. And once again, they'll continue to dismantle all these programs that black folks have fought through the civil rights era.
Again, this whole idea that, oh my God, it's these white folks. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go even further. Go to my iPad, Anthony. Randy, this is the House Majority Leader in Virginia. So the House Majority Leader in Virginia, black, Democrat. The Senate Pro Tem, Louise Lucas, black. The Speaker of the House in Virginia, Don Scott, black. But A.C. Cardoza wants to put a statement out saying, is white Democrats doing this? No, we got the facts over here.
He's just doing the call and beckoning for obviously some white politicians. And that's unfortunate that he's willing to be used like that. We all know that tokens do get spent. And one thing is that black people, we know now that all skin folk ain't kin folk. We've learned that lesson. And so what I hope that we do is that we ensure that we do our research when we see a black person giving us some information. Because it's not always accurate and they're not always acting in our best regard. So it's important that we pay attention, that we do our own research. It's really sickening to me that he would use some images and parts of our history that he knows will trigger us to manipulate us into believing a lie and voting against our best interests. I mean, how low do you have to go? And what does he think that he's ultimately going to gain from it? Because again, we all know that tokens get spent.
I want y'all to show it again. So, first of all, now pull up Cardoza first. So pull up Cardoza's statement first. Okay, y'all. This right here, this is the black Republican in Virginia who said Richmond politicians have ripped apart majority-minority districts in order to increase the number of white representatives from Northern Virginia. And then he cites one member of Congress, one guy running, and he said to dilute African-American voter strength. Now, y'all, show the flyer. Show the flyer. Okay, this is the flyer. Our ancestors fought to represent us, all these black people. Now Richmond politicians are trying to take our districts away. That's a lie. Okay, show the second part of the flyer. Okay, so he wants them to vote no. Okay, so this is video of the flyer itself. Just like Jim Crow, they want to silence your voice. Now, let me explain to everybody who's watching. There are 4 African Americans on the Republican side in Congress. All of them will not be in Congress in January. Byron Donalds is running for governor. Burgess Owens is because they gerrymandered his seat in Utah. He's scared to run in that seat. Wesley Hunt ran for the United States Senate in Texas, came in 3rd in the Republican primary. He's gone. And 4th is John James. He's running for United States Senate in Michigan. He's going to lose, so he's going to be gone. So there will be 0 black Republicans in the House next year unless a black Republican wins in November. Here's why what A.C. Cardoza said is a lie. Pull his statement back up. I want to expose y'all to lie. He said Dan Helmer, Don Byron, and others diluted African-American vote strength to increase their own power. Let me explain to you why there's a lie. Okay, you can take that down. So what A.C. Cardoza is not telling black people in Virginia is that if Democrats gain control of the House, go to my iPad, these black people are going to be in power. These black people are going to be committee chairs. These black people are going to be subcommittee chairs. What he did not tell you is that in this black man from Virginia, Bobby Scott, if the Democrats could take control of the House, Bobby Scott will be back in charge of a key committee dealing with education. Why did HBCUs get $17 billion under Biden-Harris? Because Bobby Scott was the co-chair, was a subcommittee chair driving the money. Come on, go back to my iPad. The Homeland Security, that committee, that man right there, if he wins his primary, Benny Thompson, what the primary last night? Let me know what happened. Okay, he will be the chair of that committee. Danny Davis is retiring. Gregory Meeks, foreign relations, yep, he'll be the one in control of that. Then you have, again, I can go down here. Who's going to be, hold up, where's Maxine Waters? She will be in control of the House Financial Services Committee. So what A.C. Cardoza would not say is that black members of Congress will have more power if this happens. Black members of Congress will have power to get things done for black people. See, Mustafa, this is the whole shell game. White Republicans, y'all still have stuff? Okay. White Republicans put up a black Republican as their front to try to push the okie doke on black people. And the flyer he's putting out is a lie. It's a flat out lie. And so he wants MAGA to still be in charge. Black Virginians, let me remind y'all, it's MAGA that let Doge happen. And that cost Virginia hundreds of thousands of jobs. It's MAGA Republicans in the House that allowed Elon Musk to put his cuts in that actually hurt Virginia. It's MAGA Republicans that stood with Donald Trump and caused Texas to change there. It's MAGA Republicans that cut the grants for black health and black businesses and has actually impacted black businesses all across the country by freezing contracts. So A.C. Cardoza, if you care about black people, why don't you come on the only daily black news show in America that centers black people and come talk to black people about your flyer and explain to black people why your flyer isn't a lie. Because you know it's a lie. and you don't want to be exposed for being a modern day Isaiah T. Montgomery. Google it and you'll understand. I'll be back. Hold up, before I do that, let me remind people, right now in Virginia, early voting has already started in Virginia. It ends April 18th. Every black person in Virginia should be voting yes for the 10-1 plan. Every black person in Virginia should be calling their children, their neighbors, their church members. They should be calling everybody saying, vote yes. If you are mad that the Republicans screwed over Jasmine Crockett and screwed over Al Green and screwed over the seat of the late Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner and screwed over Mark Vesey, all African Americans, if you black Virginians are mad that the Republicans screwed over Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, my alpha brother, pastor in Kansas City, if y'all are mad that they screwed over black Democrat Don Davis in North Carolina, if y'all are mad that Ron DeSantis screwed out over black people by eliminating a district in Florida, if black Virginians, if you are mad that Republicans are trying to get rid of the black districts in Louisiana, they want to get rid of the black districts in Alabama, your vote is simple. Yes. And black people should be turning out in massive numbers in Virginia to tell Republicans, we're going to show y'all what black power is like in 2026. Early voting is now through April 18th. Election day, April 21st. Let's send MAGA a message. You want to mess with black folks in Texas, we're going to get you straight in Virginia. I'll be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
This is Bill Duke, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Looks like cities are taking notes from Chicago's approach to dealing with ICE. Baltimore City, Maryland, has passed the Safe Spaces and Communities Act. The bill ensures that local government and police departments will not function as extensions of federal immigration enforcement unless a judge issues a criminal warrant or court order. Mark Conway is the chair of Baltimore City's Public Safety Committee. He joins me right now. Mark, glad to have you here. So for folks who don't understand what this means, this being passed, what now happens with law enforcement in Baltimore City?
I think first, we want to make it crystal clear that Baltimore should not be host to a concentration camp. This bill comes on the heels of notice that there were folks stuffed in the federal building downtown, and they were in really, really poor conditions, up to 37 folks in a single room. ICE is not your traditional law enforcement. They've been acting as secret police for a lawless president, and that's just completely unacceptable. I really believe ultimately that ICE should be abolished. They've lost the confidence of the people, but that's not the jurisdiction of the city council. What we can do, though, is we can decide not to cooperate with ICE in any way, shape, or form. That means if there is not a warrant signed by a judge, we won't be providing any access. If there isn't a warrant signed by a judge, we will not be providing any data. And if there's not a warrant by a judge, we are not going to be providing any support from our police department unless absolutely necessary. So I think, we want to make it crystal clear that as ICE continues to move through our cities across America, and Baltimore, we're saying no. And we want to be crystal clear that the activities that they're doing are actually making our communities more unsafe. Folks are afraid to call the police. We heard testimony from someone that explained that kids are afraid to go to school. And this is all happening while folks are doing what they're supposed to do. We heard from an asylum seeker that submitted some written testimony. They were afraid to speak in person, but they explained how they were coming in for a regular check-in. And ultimately, they were picked up by ICE and shipped from Baltimore to Texas. That's completely ridiculous. And all the while, we're hearing that the conditions in the detention center downtown are completely abysmal. We heard from a first responder who went in there and talked about hordes of people packed into a single room unsanitarily and really not having some of the basic necessities. So I think, Baltimore wants to be crystal clear. We're not going to participate in the atrocities of ICE, whether it's the actual picking up of immigrants on the streets or the detention in the federal building downtown.
And a lot of people don't realize that when these feds come in, they literally are mistreating local city officials, local police, and others.
Yeah, I think essentially they are working with a blank check. They have carte blanche, and we've already heard of multiple folks killed by ICE officers, and we've seen the administration make excuses or make up not even excuses, flat out lies for the activities of ICE agents. That's completely unacceptable. We want no part of that. And I think for all the work that we've been doing in Baltimore to improve public safety, the last thing we want is for people not to trust law enforcement. And if there's a belief that our police department is working in any way, shape, or form with ICE, we want to make it clear that is not the case. We don't want that to be the case, and we will not allow that by law, because we want to make sure that we continue to make the good progress that we're making in Baltimore.
Absolutely. And so how are you going to respond when your critics, whether it's Larry Hogan or Donald Trump, anyone says, oh, Baltimore City, how dare you? You're being a sanctuary city.
I think, at the end of the day, we want to be a city that is inviting. We want to be a city that is healthy and thriving. And immigrants add so much to what Baltimore is and is becoming. And we want that to continue. And we don't want to scare folks away or treat them unfairly. But I think at the very basis of this, I think ICE's activities threaten basic civil liberties for even Americans. They're acting in ways and violating people's rights in ways that we've really haven't seen any time in my lifetime. But we all know Black folks have gone through this for quite some time. And here we are now seeing it again and being perpetrated on immigrants across our country. And in Baltimore, we've made so much progress. Why would we take the risk of ruining the relationship between our police department, our city agencies, our communities, and our law enforcement because of the atrocities of ICE? We don't want any part of that. We won't tolerate it, and we will do everything in our power to step away from it and to prevent it from happening.
All right, then. Well, look, we certainly appreciate you joining us on the show. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you, brother, and I like your shirt.
Oh, of course. Well, we got Mustafa and Larry, two of the alphas on the show. So that's how we roll on this show.
We're everywhere, man. We're everywhere.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks. We come back. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and the SAVE Act, which is actually the Trash Act. And we'll break it down for you. Hey, folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Please support us. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. That supports this show and the 5 other shows here on the Black Star Network. If you want to support us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's also for credit cards. Checks and money order. Make it payable to P.O. Box 571. First of all, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up, not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Well, Donald Trump is used to lying, and now he's pushing House Republicans, not House Republicans, Senate Republicans, already passed the House, y'all, to pass a major partisan elections bill with new provisions, saying it should be the GOP's #1 priority. He's already told them he ain't even gonna sign any bill until they pass this. Now, the House has already passed 2 versions of what is now called the Save America Act that will institute tough new citizenship and photo ID requirements for voting. It's now awaiting a Senate vote. Majority Leader John Thune is committed to calling it up, but he said he is not going to change the filibuster rules. He says it is certain to be blocked by Democrats under the chamber's 60-vote filibuster threshold. Now, if you want to understand why Trump and Republicans are pushing so hard for this, well, he made it clear.
They're doing everything possible because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer. And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed. Because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed. The Democrats. With Republicans, you're at 98%. But Democrats are at 86, except for the people that run the Democrat Party, because they want to try and win elections illegally. It's the only reason you vote against voter ID is because you want to cheat. There's no other reason. They come up with reasons. They say, it's racist. That's their #1, racist. Then you have to explain it, and they're just sitting there mumbling. They can't explain it.
Now, he's lying. He's lying. And they need Democrats to vote for him. They need 60 votes. Here is Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune. Listen.
President Trump told me yesterday that it would take Democratic votes to pass the Save America Act. Do you think the MAGA base has an unrealistic expectation of passing that legislation without Democrat support?
I think there are a lot of optimistic views about what Democrats may or may not do. We all know, because we deal with them every day, that the Democrats are not all of a sudden going to decide that this is something they want to be for. So yeah, again, I mean, I think you have a lot of optimists out there, and I appreciate that, and a lot of passion and energy behind getting an outcome here. But getting an outcome would require Democrat votes, and and we'll give them a chance. Like I said, they'll have that opportunity to vote one way or the other on this. But I would be very, very surprised.
Does it make it more difficult that the president keeps adding pieces of policy to this legislation? Would it be better if you just had a straight up or down vote on photo ID or citizenship, for instance?
We certainly want to vote on the issues that came over from the House. The president has since that time added some additional components to his request, which we will figure out a way to get votes on as well. But obviously, I think the core issue with respect to the Save America Act is ensuring that non-citizens aren't voting in American elections, that only citizens are voting in our elections, and that they have to be citizens to register to vote, and they have to be citizens to vote.
Y'all, that's already the law. It's literally already the law. I mean, that's the BS that they're playing. And so they're trying to say, 86%. Do Democrats support using an ID? Yeah. Right now, you can use an ID. This is my driver's license. This is my Texas driver's license. What they are saying is, I can't use this to vote. I'm going to need to use my passport. That means that if you don't have a passport, you got to buy a passport. That's going to cost you money. Do you see what they're doing? Y'all, so this idea, the SAVE Act, it's no big deal. They're lying. Back to my panel, Mustafa. We see what these guys are doing. We see the lies that they're telling, and they're going to keep telling those lies.
Yeah, I mean, the SAVE Act actually costs people money. It costs people their freedom and their dignity related to democracy. So let's be very clear that this is just another set of intentional actions to stop people from voting or to shrink the margins. We all know that the majority of Americans don't travel outside of the country. Most people don't have a passport. So they know the numbers. They've run them. They understand what will shrink these margins and give them a better opportunity to hold on to power and these policies that the vast majority of people in the country are not supportive of right now. So this is, once again, another game of voter suppression.
Absolutely. Randy, of course, one of the issues that has been talked about is the impact on married women because they're demanding you use your birth certificate. All right, so here's Chief Liar Carolyn Levitt talking about that.
And as far as married women who have changed their name, if they're already registered to vote, they're entirely unaffected by the SAVE Act. And for the small fraction of individuals who have changed their name or their address, they can still register to vote. Of course, they just have to go through their state processes to update that documentation. And this is something that the American people, married women and minorities and people all across this country who Democrats are insultingly saying cannot do this, they're already doing it every day, going to the Social Security office, going to the DMV, and I think it's frankly insulting that the Democrats are saying that there are certain groups of people in this country who aren't smart enough to update their documentation to allow them to vote.
That's the lie they're pushing, Randy.
About it a few times, and we have to be honest that they, just like they want to run the country, they only really want rich white males to vote. As Mustafa was just saying, only 50% of Americans have a passport. So, and usually those are people who are traveling extensively. That is not a luxury that most Americans, or at least half of Americans, have. So they're going to discount those people. Then with the SAVE Act, because they're talking about looking at our last names, improving, our citizenship, that will discount married women. It is true. Especially if your documentation does not match. I just want to say it again. It is already law that you have to prove your citizenship to vote. They're just trying to make it more difficult so we can be disqualified. So if you don't have a passport, but let's talk about how many people truly don't have their birth certificates anymore, particularly disenfranchised people like the Black community. Let's not act as if we came over in normal ways. We understand that we don't have our documentation oftentimes. They want to make it so difficult for us to be able to get to the polls because they know, quite the opposite of what Trump said, that if we continue to do things the right way, the fair way, to ensure that we have a democracy, to ensure that everybody who wants to vote gets to vote without hassle, they cannot win. And the only way they can win is squeeze the rest of us out to make it so incredibly difficult for us to vote.
The White House, this is what they actually put on Twitter, y'all. The Save America Act. Number one, all voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. No mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. No men and women's sports. No transgender mutilation surgery for children. First of all, I don't know what the hell 4 and 5 have to do with voting. But Larry, number 3 right there. This is why people don't understand why you got to pay attention to everything. They want to outlaw mail-in balloting. That's the whole deal. So this is not just a voter ID bill. So guess what? Democrats should be opposed to this. This is not just about voter ID.
And Roland, if you notice, no one mentioned mail-in balloting. Well, President Trump has talked about it a lot. He's railed against it consistently. But no one else in those press conferences mentioned it. And what's really interesting about this is that, asking someone like myself, and other folks on this panel who come from enslaved Africans to essentially vote for more literacy tests or grandfather clauses or anything else during the Jim Crow, relative to the Jim Crow era, so that make it more difficult for us to vote, Black women and Black men, is absolutely ridiculous. Roland, this is white supremacy. This is also misinformation as it relates to Donald Trump losing an election against Biden. So they can take and consolidate more power to make sure that white men could hold power, the presidency, the House, the Senate, state level, et cetera, and decrease, once again, dilute Black and other minoritized individuals from voting. If this bill, and look, it doesn't look like it's going to pass the Senate, but folks need to continue to call the U.S. Senator to make sure their voices are heard. Because if they're able to pass this, it is game over as it relates to our democracy. And so we have to stand steadfast. We cannot let this bill come out of the Senate. Obviously, we heard about the filibuster, but you can't. These are people that will change laws, change their minds at the last minute. You cannot trust Thune or any other policymakers, senators who are standing behind him, because if they realize at some point, hey, maybe this is not such a bad idea, and they get rid of the filibuster, crazier things have happened, then we'll be in dire situation.
Yeah, I mean, we know exactly what's going on here. We know exactly what you're going to have to pay for. And what they're trying to do, you got this idiot Glenn Beck, oh my God, if you don't pass the SAVE Act, this is going to be the death of the Republic. No, y'all, they've done these analyses. Virtually, it's already against the law to be a non-citizen and vote, Mustafa. So you want to pass something else when you already have a law? No, the real issue here is they want to make it difficult. They're saying that my Texas driver's license or real ID is not good enough. We're going to create another form of ID that you have to use.
Yeah, they're trying to create these layers. And by creating these layers, it makes it so much more difficult for people to fully participate in the process. Here's the thing. I travel all over the world. I have seen how other countries handle voting. The United States of America is supposed to be a democracy. It is supposed to be trying to get other countries to become a democracy. A part of democracy is the ability to be able to vote, and they are making that incredibly difficult. So what they're also saying is that, they're creating a faux democracy, actually, by these additional challenges and hurdles that they continue to put in front of folks. But as Larry has said, and others have shared, this is just a part of history of trying to hold on to power, of trying to make sure that you tilt, the elections in your direction. So folks just need to pay attention. They need to get engaged. If you don't believe in this, then you should make sure that you're speaking out, whether you're sending an email or making a phone call or whatever it might be, because this is incredibly serious, because we continue to see folks trying to chip away at democracy. And this is one of those major steps that, if allowed to move forward, folks will see, real impacts to who shows up, how folks show up, and who's afraid to show up.
Here's Congressman Jim McGovern on this so-called Save America Act.
I'm reading the bill. This is the Save America Act. I have news from my Republican friends. Americans don't want to be saved by you. They don't want you screwing up the next elections. They don't want you to make it more difficult for them to participate in the next election. And they certainly do not want to have states' voting rolls turned over to Kristi Noem, who right now is overseeing a government agency that is killing innocent Americans in our streets. I mean, this is crazy. So let me just start off this hearing by stating some facts. There is no widespread voter fraud in the United States of America. It is simply not true to say that voter fraud or non-citizens voting is a massive widespread issue. That is not to say that that our system is perfect. We face issues when it comes to cyber attacks, foreign disinformation, intimidation, and violence against election workers. Those are all important issues that we should be addressing today, but we are not. We are not. Instead, we're considering a bill that is fundamentally predicated on a lie. There is extensive documentary evidence that voter fraud, voter impersonation, and non-citizens voting is not a widespread issue. It is a myth perpetrated by people whose real goal is to suppress the rights of American citizens, citizens who are legally and constitutionally entitled to cast their ballot, and to prevent American citizens from participating in our elections. Republicans are pushing the Save America Act because they want fewer Americans to vote. It's that simple. Republicans have looked high and low to find fraud. And you know what they've found? Someone is more likely to get struck by lightning than to vote illegally.
Are you calling me racist?
I'm reading the bill.
So what y'all got to say? I mean, this is the truth about it, and they don't want to accept the reality of it. They're lying. They're lying, Randy. They are lying.
I was reading an article, and they said that they spent a lot of money combing through the voting registrations and histories in, I think it was Iowa. And they looked at 2 million votes, and they found one person who voted illegally that was not a citizen. One. It is not a problem that we're facing in the United States. They're not trying to create a solution for the problem of non-citizens voting. They're trying to create a solution to them not being able to win if everyone has the right to vote and it's of ease to vote. Particularly with this mail-in voting, they know how much. What they do now is they make it very difficult for many of us to get to our polling places. They know that it's difficult, particularly for our elderly. And they know Black folks, our elders, are going to vote. If they don't do anything else, they're going to vote. So mail-in voting has been a godsend to us. And they want to make it where not only are we going to shut down places for you to vote, we're also going to make it where you cannot mail in your votes. So again, this is all about suppressing our votes and suppressing our voices.
Yeah, this ain't that hard to understand, Larry. Again, we know the game that they're trying to play. They keep saying, nothing wrong with ID, nothing wrong with ID. And I saw one of the CNN guy, their polling guy, he was on here and he was like, I mean, oh my God, this is hugely popular among the American people. People understand ID. Democrats are not saying, hey, forget that, forget IDs. But folk got to understand the game they're playing. They're simply trying to use it against people. That's what they're trying to do. In fact, this is former Speaker Nancy Pelosi talking about this and explaining what this bill will do.
Surveillance in our own country is something that is absolutely not to be allowed. Now, if there's some particular reason, there's one thing. But for Tulsi Gabbard to be looking into elections is really not right. It's not lawful. It's not right. But that doesn't seem to ever bother the president. But you know what? We don't agonize, we organize. And we have litigation, we have lawyering in addition to in the courts, but at polling places and the rest. We have legislation, and we're going to fight him on the SAVE Act for the voter ID. It's just not right. And there are many Republicans in the country who know it's not right because it's inconvenient for them as well as it is for married women in the country. You don't have your birth name on your voter file. That's a problem. Well, we need no need to go into all of the problems with it, except to say it's a problem. We're dealing with it, and the president. I'm really, people are concerned. Is he going to send in ICE and the National Guard, the this, the that? Don't put anything past him, as we saw on January 6th when the President of the United States personally incited an insurrection in our country. He's capable of any bad thing. But the fact is now this is well heralded that he wants to do this. Again, I say it, we don't agonize, we organize, we fight in the courts, we fight in the court of public opinion, and we fight in the Congress of the United States against what he's trying to do.
They want to create a whole new system, Larry. That's what they want to do. Larry, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, this is the thing, Roland. Folks, if your white folks are watching this, they need to understand that this is going to impact them too. It's not going to just impact Black folks or other minoritized groups. So it needs to be really clearly explained to folks that this is bad for democracy in general. And we know disproportionately this is going to impact, like I said, Black and other groups. But this bill, we cannot return back to the Jim Crow policies. Black folks, our family members have lived through this. This is Jim Crow 0.20. And we have to stand strong and make sure, like I said, call your U.S. Senator, but we cannot allow this bill to pass the Senate.
Absolutely, folks. Defeat the so-called Save America Act. All right, going to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about what's happening with Black Creeks. Also, MAGA. Y'all don't care about Reverend Jesse Jackson, so why y'all sitting here trying to front? I'll break it all down for y'all as well. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Hey, I'm Malcolm Lee, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, we've been covering this story for quite some time, and that is what's happening with the Black Creek in Oklahoma. Attorneys representing the Black Creek Freedmen have filed 3 motions to compel Principal Chief David Hill and the Muscogee Nation Citizenship Board to comply with the ruling of the nation's Supreme Court in the Treaty of 1866. Following the ruling in July at the Muscogee Nation Supreme Court, they said unanimously affirmed that Black Creek Freedmen are full citizens of the nation under the Treaty of 1866. Attorneys Rhonda Grayson and Jeff Kennedy state that Principal Chief David Hill and the Citizenship Board have engaged in months of ongoing delays and willful noncompliance with the ruling. Damario Solomon-Simmons, of course, civil rights attorney, founder of Justice for Greenwood, joins us right now. Okay, so they made the ruling. So, like, what's the deal? That was July. That's more than...
Yeah, been 30...
It's 8 months ago.
Yeah, 8 months, almost a year, 31 weeks ago, we had a 5-0 decision that said that Black Creeks, which are about 100,000 of us throughout the nation, have the same citizenship rights of all other creeks, and yet they are standing in the way. And you guys were just talking about voter suppression and all that stuff, and that's what this case is about. And as we know, when you deny Black folks the right to participate in the democracy and the right to participate to vote, that is an assault not just on the individual Black folks in Texas or Georgia or the Muscogee Creek Nation. It is an assault on Black political power everywhere it is. And that's what's happening right here, Roland. Right now, Chief Hill is standing in the doorway the same way that Governor George Wallace stood in the doorway at the University of Alabama and wouldn't allow those Black students to integrate.
What's the holdup? What the hell's the holdup?
Roland, the holdup, only thing we can see here is anti-Black discrimination, right? Because the rule of law has already decided, their own Supreme Court. So not only is the treaty federal law, so under our Constitution, for those who are listening, under our Constitution, the United States Constitution is the highest form of law in the land. But number 2 are treaties. So this treaty, which is in force, is a supreme law of the land only subservient to the Constitution. That's on the federal side. But the Creek Nation's own Supreme Court, 5-0, decided that Creeks of African descent are entitled to full citizenship, and yet they are not allowing us in, and it is nothing but anti-Black discrimination. And Roland, right now, today, as I speak, there's an estimated 4,000 applications that are just sitting in the Muscogee Creek Nation Citizenship Office that is not, they are not being approved and processed. Over 4,000. And the government GAO office told us back in December that they estimate, just from a federal level and conservative estimates that there are 47 to 117,000 Black Creeks throughout the country. So we're talking about a substantial amount of individuals who are not getting the opportunity to vote, who are not getting the opportunity to have access to benefits, and also are being denied their heritage and who they actually are.
So, I mean, what next? I mean, how do you force him to comply?
Well, we have a two-pronged strategy. One, we have filed with the Muscogee Creek Nation Supreme Court, asking the court to do 2 things. Number 1, to sanction or file in contempt Chief David Hill and the Citizenship Board for ignoring their order. That's number 1. And then number 2, for them to postpone, or we filed a preliminary injunction for them to stop the election that is coming up on May 30th unless and until Black Creeks are allowed to become citizens. This is an affront to the rule of law. This is absurd that you can have actual elections and not have citizens be able to vote. And thirdly, we want our citizens' applications to be processed immediately. This needs to start today. We have people that have been waiting literally their whole life trying to get their citizenship process, and they're just dragging their feet. Now, if the Muscogee Creek Nation Supreme Court does not rule, we have no choice but to go to the federal courts, which we will do, but that is not what we want to do. We feel like this should be decided within our own Supreme Court nation of the Creek Nation.
Well, always some legal maneuvering that's necessary. So, Damario, keep us abreast of what happens.
I will, and Roland, if I could just say, people, I want everyone to understand that without the Black Creeks, there is no Greenwood, there is no Black Wall Street. The Black Creeks were the co-founders of Black Wall Street. So justice for Greenwood is justice for the Black Creeks. And we're not talking about being part of a club or association or nonprofit. This is an independent government that is discriminating, that Black folks should be a part of and have an opportunity to participate in.
All right. We appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland. Peace.
Folks, white Republicans in Tennessee are absolutely nuts. Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson needed to fact-check Representative Michelle Renault after she used the Bible to literally justify the Founding Fathers being slave owners. They shouldn't be judged because slavery was normalized during their time. Here is the verbal lashing she received from a descendant of a slave.
Representative Renault.
Thank you for the question. As far as our founding fathers and those that owned slavery, it is important not to dilute history. We need to understand and know what that is so that we don't repeat those mistakes. But the Bible also says that we will be judged in the time of our culture. And at that time, it was a common practice. Not saying that's right or wrong. The Bible actually does instruct those who do own slaves on how to treat them and to treat them fairly and kindly. But our founding fathers definitely believe that all men were created equal, and it was those beliefs that moved us from the position of slavery to where we are today. So this particular legislation does not advocate to teach those things. I think we have many other pieces of civic education that likely does include that, but this intention for this legislation is for that to not necessarily be included.
Representative Pearson.
It is nearly unconscionable to believe that you just articulated the theological vision of enslavers in this Capitol in the year 2026 as though it was okay. Because here's your problem. The Bible, which was written in many different iterations, but is articulating a time of thousands of years ago, was used as justification for enslavement that happened thousands of years later, 400 years ago in our country. And so even if you're trying to articulate, as you are incorrectly, that the Bible was somehow giving permission to slavery, that would have been in the era in which it was happening. It wouldn't be used as a theological justification just 400 years ago in our nation's history. But what is worse, and what is deeply disturbing by what you have just said is not how you are saying, and that was wrong or immoral. There is no question that slavery was immoral. And you shouldn't need a Bible to know that. And there were always people who were antithetical to the antebellum South's iteration of chattel slavery. The people who were enslaved, who were kidnapped from the continent of Africa and brought here against their will. And I am a Christian, and I am a 7th-generation Tennessean. I have read the Bible from front to back. And the stories about love, about who Christ is, about loving thy neighbor and loving God is what we are told to profess. So anyone who misused the Bible to enslave people, misused the Bible to keep people in bondage, they were wrong then as you are wrong now. I refuse to support this legislation because the lens by which you are viewing the world is toxic, is damning, is wrong, and is immoral. And you, my fellow colleagues, should do much more work in understanding the history of this country and understanding the history of enslavement and the consequences that it continues to wreak and the barriers it continues to create in this state and around the country. No one should ever be able to use Christianity as justification for the enslavement of people, especially not someone who has the audacity to call themselves a legislator.
Oh, that wasn't just it. State Rep Sam McKenzie also fact-checked her after she falsely said that all men are created equal, that it applied to slaves when the Declaration of Independence was written. Yo, seriously, press play.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Was that a lie? And are we going to teach that?
Representative Renault.
No, that is not a lie, and it's that the founders believed that so much that they put that into our founding documents. At the time, and you'll remember history, that it took many hundreds of years to be able to rectify what our culture at that time. But putting those words into the documents is what allowed us to move forward. Unfortunately, it inched. It wasn't an immediate change, but those words ring true still today. And it's the progress that we have made as a culture and the values that America was founded on have allowed us to move forward and to be able to recognize that all men are created equal.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a black man, and the person that had me during those times was a black man. When historically accurate, not cultures and evolution and how things evolved, but historically accurate, that was a lie. My forefather was not treated equally, was not considered to be a man. So for you to say we're going to have this historically accurate teaching and not teach that is just flat wrong. Historically accurately means when they put pen to paper, they said all. They did not mean all. That's all. They did not mean all. So if we're going to do this historically accurately, let's do it. If we're not, if we're going to be able to pick and choose, then that's not the way we should teach. And say that this is now a historically accurate statement, since we've evolved and we've got better and we've understood the mistakes of the past. The mistakes of the past says that my predecessor was not a man. So this is a lie. I love this country. I love the fact that our forefathers created, as Winston Churchill said, you know, democracy is horrible, but all of them the worst. All of them, the rest of them are worse. And I'm grossly paraphrasing that. But again, so that's not where I'm coming from. We have to accept that as African Americans that we were enslaved. We have to accept that, and we have to move on, and we have to make things better for us and the next generation. But for you to come here and say that we're going to teach something, we're going to now in 2026 teach something that's historically accurate, and it doesn't touch on that. And you say that these are one of the things that we're going to teach. So we're going to ignore that whole piece. But we're going to focus on where other people might have been from a religious standpoint because of a statement that they made here or there. You're not going to be able to prove that they were an active member of a church for a lot of them. You will not be able to prove that historically, because several of them probably had some things that they put in pen to paper that talked about their faith. But historically, you're not going to do that. But here we are having this conversation, and you're ignoring this gaping hole in the creation of our great country. I've got a problem with that. This is just flat out not, it's not the way to teach historically accurate information. Either you teach it all, or we just move on and say that this time, these documents are great documents. These are great documents that we want all our children to understand. But to say because some people have said that some of these were atheists, some of them not, we'll deal with that, but we're not going to deal with the gaping hole is wrong. You know, and my question to you is, on a whole different level, how many of the forefathers that signed these documents were immigrants, were first generation United States eventual citizens?
Representative Renaud.
First, to address your question about the factualness of the documents, if you would like to sponsor legislation to teach the aspects of slavery, I certainly would support you in that. But this legislation specifically is to teach the meaning of what the founders meant about our rights coming from our creator and not government, and then to dispel the myth that many of our founding fathers were, in fact, not atheist or deist. Even Benjamin Franklin was raised Presbyterian. He's known as our most secular founding father. He was perhaps religiously unorthodox, but he affirmed his belief in a providence. So when I said the legislation says moral belief, it is addressing moral belief in that regard, that maybe he didn't claim a certain denomination or religion, but he did in fact affirm a belief in providence, as many of his documents did state. There are among the 39 signers of the Constitution, a majority of them were Anglican and Episcopalian. But we had other Presbyterian, Congregationalists, Quakers, Methodists, one Catholic. But even those that were deist-leaning did affirm or acknowledge providence, which we associate with the Creator.
Y'all, even a Republican, William Lambert, had to say, girl, sit your ass down.
My friend from Knox County, if we're going to teach history, let's teach history. Some of our history is ugly in this country, and there are people over the years that have twisted and poisoned what the Bible says to try to justify an evil act. I stand as a member of the party of Lincoln that he founded. Slavery was, is, and will forever be an evil stain on our country's history. It hurt then, it hurts now, it lingers in the heart of every one of us. The amendment says that this has to be historically accurate and devoid of politically advocacy, that they're gonna have to pick a video to teach about this. I don't know about the sponsor, but I know my friend from Knox County is gonna be watching real close to see what that video says, and I will be too. Because if it's not historically accurate, if it doesn't talk about the evil of slavery and the struggles that our country have been through every day from then till now, because some person thought it was okay to sell an individual to another individual. It was evil then, it's evil now, it will forever be evil. This is not partisan. If you're on this floor and you are a racist, you cannot be Christian. You could be Christian or you could be racist. You can choose God and you can choose love, or you can choose hate. You cannot choose both. So surely to goodness we can stand together on this to say this should be historically accurate. But again, they're going to pick a video here to make it historically accurate. I certainly hope that they show the good, the bad, the ugly, the evil and the right as we move past that dark time, but remember it accurately.
One Republican with some common sense. Larry, these white folks are so desperate to rewrite history. They really want his story. And they are mad that we actually know how to read today.
Yeah, I watched this conversation a few times last night because I'm completely dumbfounded by her rationale. And look, I get that she's a religious conservative, and that's fine. But Dr. King warned us about this kind of Christian. And theologians, Black theologians since then have warned us about these kinds of Christians who will use the Bible as a way to assert that, enslaved Africans, our ancestors, that this is just part of the way things were. And as Representative highlighted, it's in complete contradiction what it means to be Christian. And certainly the Christianity in terms of the way I was raised in AME church. So we need to call people out like this for their hypocrisy. And also, when I look at her bio, her mom immigrated from somewhere else outside the United States. How dare you have the audacity to tell someone like myself and our colleagues we saw there on the Tennessee floor that somehow we're talking about how things were back in the day, and it didn't apply to necessarily those enslaved Africans, and this rationale about how to treat your slaves well. My ancestors weren't treated well. particularly black women who were enslaved. Let's be clear about that. So this is ludicrous. I'm glad they checked her, and we need more white Republicans to offer a counter narrative to talk about, once again, we talked about a dark period in our history. It is part of U.S. history, and that the lineage of those challenges from that time continue today for Black folks.
Randy, I know of a very hardcore Christian. I mean, he was a Bible-believing, Jesus-loving, hardcore Christian. Let me show you right here. Come on, guys. Come on. Guys, come on. That's John Brown. John Brown was a hardcore Christian, and he despised slavery. Oh, I'm sorry. She ain't talking about those kind of Christians, Randy.
No, she's absolutely not talking about those kind of Christians. And when I tell you I watched this, my stomach just got so tight. Let me tell you what bothers me. I mean, one, when has any enslaved person been treated fairly? The fact that she would suggest that there was fairness in the institution whatsoever and that people were ever treated fairly just, it angers me so much. But I'm going to tell you what angers me even more. When you see people of a minority group, and her ethnicity is Korean, beating this conservative Christian drum that is honestly, at this point, when you talk about white Christian nationalists, it is white supremacy. Just how dare she? It is so the antithesis of what life really would be for her. If you look at the way Koreans were abused on sugar plantations in Hawaii, if you look at the way that they were mistreated and abused and called out during the COVID crisis, all Asians were. If you look at the way that they have been relegated, oftentimes in this country still, just to work in sweatshops and in the laundry servicing businesses, they have not been treated well in this country. So the idea that she is beating this Christian drum as if she is part of this white supremacy ideal is so insane to me, because it's not even true for her. So for her to try to justify what's happened to enslaved Africans here, and that she has feels no connection considering her people's history, just shows that she's trying so hard to be accepted into a club, the club of white supremacy, in which she will never be accepted. And her people have never been accepted. It infuriates me, Roland. It absolutely infuriates me.
Mustafa?
I mean, just building on what Randy just shared, I have this quote that says, those who have been oppressed often become the oppressors. And you see that lots of times with folks who are, coming to this country and they figure, well, if I side with these other folks who seem to have some monicum of power, then I'll be in a better position. It never works out that way, or rarely does. But oftentimes people who have been through oppression become, some of the most virulent oppressors. The other thing is that, reading is fundamental. I see so many of these politicians who I'm like, have you ever opened a book? Have you ever studied history? If they did, they would remember in 1802, Thomas Jefferson actually wrote a letter to another religious organization talking about making sure that there was a strong wall between the church and the state. So when you hear people talking about, the separation of church and state, of course, you can go back to the First Amendment and some other types of things. But whether you want to talk about the founders or others, they understood, that there needed to be this bright line between the two, because they saw historically what happened when that wasn't the case. Now, when you have these individuals who want to hold on to history and try and bring that forward in 2026, then that in itself is a problem, because our archaic rules and archaic ways of looking at things never bring any value to a time when things should evolve, when people should be more respected, when we should make sure that equity is a part of a process, and also understanding the impacts, whether it's slavery, Jim Crow, or a number of other types of things that have had devastating impacts for communities. So you should just have enough cultural competency to understand, one, that you shouldn't go there, but there should be a deeper set of understanding that's inside of you as a lawmaker, that you should have a broader perspective that is not going to be hurtful to individuals and will actually help our country to move forward and to heal. And if you don't do that, then you get what you saw.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, by the way, you may have heard this news. A Trump racist has pulled his name out of a nomination because even Republicans are like, yeah, you're a little too racist for us. Now, y'all got to understand, if you a little too racist for today's Republican Party, then your ass is a racist. Jeremy Carl, of course, with the Claremont Institute, he actually was nominated. Guys, okay, y'all gonna make me cuss live, but I'm trying not to. All right, Jeremy Carl, he wrote a book dealing with white culture, and he was nominated for a position in the State Department. And so, y'all, he made his comments about white identity, and he said that, look, I mean, the reality is, white people, we got a role to play, and we're losing our identity in this country. So so civil rights groups, labor groups opposed him as well. And his book was called The Unprotected Class: How Anti-White Racism is Tearing America Apart. He said that white people face persistent discrimination and that their identity was being erased from American history. So he posted this statement on social media. Unfortunately, for senior positions such as this one, support of the President and Secretary of State is very important, but not sufficient. What that means is the Senate has to confirm or deny. We also needed the unanimous support of every GOP senator on the Committee on Foreign Relations, given the unanimous opposition of Senate Democrats to my candidacy. And unfortunately, at this time, this unanimous support was not forthcoming because even Republicans were like, dog, you're a little too racist. You're too racist. But this is what we're dealing with. Mustafa, this is what we're facing. Donald Trump leads people who believe in white supremacy, white nationalism. This guy claimed, I'm not a white nationalist. I'm not a white nationalist. But he also got ripped because he was on a podcast where he agreed with the host who assailed Jews for, quote, claiming special victim status after the Holocaust and saying that, quote, Hitler is always the convenient kind of bad example. 'Cause he is.
I mean, come on now. I mean, Hitler was evil. There's no way around it. And here's the thing also. This administration often hires people based upon, who they are, what they stand for, and what their claim to fame is. This individual's claim to fame was actually writing a book about hate, writing a book about the erasure that isn't happening of white folks, right? The other part of it is that, if folks had been doing the right thing in this country, had actually been, showing love and compassion and pulling people together and honoring individuals and lifting them up, then, folks wouldn't see you who you truly are. I mean, history is history. If you have, caused genocide for indigenous people, if you have enslaved Africans and brought them here so you could have free labor, so your country could have a bigger economic GDP, if you had not done the things that you did to Japanese folks. I mean, I can go down the laundry list of the things that are historical fact. And the reason why people look at you the way that you do is because of who you are. And who you have been. So if you want to change, now's your opportunity to actually put forward policies that help the country to heal, but that has not been a part of this administration. This administration loves individuals who like chaos, who like hate, who want to make sure they can hold all the power. And of course, the power is tied to resources, and that's just the reality. So if you want something different, then you have to change. And they're just not interested in it because, right now they hold this small amount of power for this short amount of time. Let me say that again, for the short amount of time, if people actually get out and vote, and we can change the dynamic. So if we can have a country, that honors everyone, but you've got to do the work. And people just don't want to do the work. They always want to take shortcuts. They want to do the easy thing. And hate is easy, but hate also has a huge cost, both in the moment and as you move forward.
Larry?
So this guy was a race. If you had a racist, favorite racist, I watched some of that confirmation hearing, so other people didn't, and I was really astounded that he really didn't back away from all the points he made. He just couldn't properly articulate it because he was being called out. But as Mustafa said, this is another example of what you see from the administration of people who are overtly racist. That even in prior Republican administrations, you would have never saw anyone like this being sent before the Senate for a confirmation hearing. The fact that he even got this far, remember, people, he got vetted by the administration and still went through the confirmation process. So I'm glad that some Republicans found him to be too racist. But the fact that he made it even this far is really telling about the ideology and beliefs of the current administration, which is consistent with everything we see in terms of the attack against Black folks, economic, education, various other issues. So this is, I guess it's a win. But once again, like I said, he was an overt racist and he deserved to be kicked to the curb. And I'm glad he was embarrassed.
Randy?
I don't think they had a problem of him being too racist. I just refuse to believe that. I think that the problem is that he was so openly racist, whereas they like to show their racism through, restricting our voting and the policies they create. And so they're not going to come out and say it. And they know that the way that he spoke and would come out and say the things that he said, he would get them in trouble. But I don't think it's because they don't agree with a lot of what he says. I keep hearing these people talk about the white culture, and I still haven't figured out what that is because they can't talk about white culture without talking about everybody else. It seems to be...
You know what white culture is.
Colonizing people.
You know what white culture is. White culture is meatloaf, mayonnaise, clapping on the 1-3. You know what white culture is.
And they're worried about us taking that away. They want their mayonnaise. They're worried about us taking that away. Like, I think they have to be honest, is that they're worried about the rise and the richness of everybody else's culture. But I mean, it's just not that deep. If you cannot talk about white culture without talking about colonizing and who they hate. Because even when they speak about white culture, they have to talk about all these other people who are taking them over. They can't just talk about white culture. They can't go on and on about their culture. Like we can. Black folks can go on and on about the richness of our culture and what makes us us. But the only thing they can talk about ultimately is down with everybody else. We need to suppress and oppress everybody else. I'm like, it's just funny to me how they keep trying to talk about white culture, but can't seem to quite describe it. And then,
White culture, unseasoned chicken.
Right.
White culture.
Well, they can have it. Nobody's trying to take it from them.
White culture, pumpkin pie.
That's true. Casseroles. They like casseroles.
White culture, lumberjack shirts in the summer. I mean, we... Oh, my God. We can still keep going on, but definitely that mayonnaise. All right. Let me go to a break. Come back. Black Star Network headlines and Brittany Noble and more to break down on the show. Back it on Rolling Martin Unfiltered on Black Star Network.
A balanced life with me, Dr. Jackie, a relationship that we have to have. We're often afraid of it and don't like to talk about it. That's right. We're talking about our relationship with money. And here's the thing. Our relationship with money oftentimes determines whether we have it or not. Balancing your relationship with your pocketbook. That's next on A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm T.D. Jakes, and you are watching the Black Star Network.
White culture, a miracle whip. All right, let me go to headlines. Brittany Noble.
A black man was just days away from being executed in Alabama's death chamber, but Governor Kay Ivey has commuted Charles Sonny Burton's sentence. Instead, Burton will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. Governor Ivey made her decision after speaking with a representative of the victim's family. Doug Battle was shot and killed during a robbery at the AutoZone's auto parts store in Talladega on August 16, 1991. He was shot in the back by Derek DeBruce after Burton and the 4 other robbers had left the store. Battle's daughter, Tori, had publicly expressed that she did not want to see Burton's death sentence carried out. DeBruce was originally given the death penalty as well, but his sentence was later commuted. In a letter, Ivey stated that she firmly believes in the death penalty, but it must be administered fairly and proportionately. She said, "I believe it would be unjust for one participant in this crime to be executed while the participant who pulled the trigger was not." A family is calling for accountability after a video captured Broward Sheriff's Office deputies punching a man during an arrest in Tarmac, Florida. It happened March 3rd. The video recorded by drivers shows 41-year-old Christopher Newkirk on the ground as 3 deputies held him down. 2 of the deputies appear to punch Newkirk in the face. His family says the images have been difficult to watch. A booking photo released after the arrest shows a large gash on Newkirk's face and injuries to his eyes. Deputies initially pulled Newkirk over for illegally tinted windows. And according to court documents, deputies searched him after learning he was on probation for armed trafficking of narcotics. They reported finding drugs under his waistband and said Newkirk began to struggle. He's charged with multiple counts of battery on an officer, resisting arrest, and possession of multiple drugs with intent to sell. Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon signed legislation banning abortions after embryonic cardiac activity can be detected. Generally, it happens about 6 weeks gestation and often before women know that they're even pregnant. The signing makes Wyoming the 5th state to bar abortions at the stage of pregnancy, along with Florida, Georgia, Iowa, and South Carolina. 13 other states bar abortion at all stages of pregnancy, with some exceptions. Gordon, a Republican, said in a letter to lawmakers on Monday that he has some doubts about the law that he signed because it doesn't include exceptions for pregnancies caused by rape or incest. The law does make an exception in cases to preserve the woman from an imminent peril that substantially endangers her life or health, according to appropriate medical judgment. And today, voters in Georgia's 14th congressional district are picking a replacement for former Republican U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. She resigned in January following a public rift with President Donald Trump. A crowded field of 22 candidates initially filed to run for the vacant U.S. House seat, but that number fell to 17 active contenders after a handful of withdrawals from the race. All candidates will compete on the same ballot regardless of political affiliation. If no candidate receives a majority of votes, the top 2 vote getters will advance to an April 7th runoff. There are 12 Republicans and 3 Democrats competing in the special election. We'll have the results for you on Wednesday. Well, Byron Allen is buying a significant stake in the premium TV brand Starz. The mogul, whose Allen Media Group owns the Weather Channel, a production company, local TV stations, and streaming platforms, acquired a 10.7% stake in Starz. According to a filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, Allen is paying $25 million for the stake. Starz is home to shows like P-Valley and 50 Cent's Power. The company was previously under Lionsgate. Last May, it split from Starz, allowing the premium cable network and streaming businesses to trade separately. Allen Media Group, which Allen founded back in 1993, owns and or operates 27 ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox network affiliate broadcast television stations in 21 different U.S. markets. Well, Beyonce and Kelly Rowland are once again giving back to their hometown of Houston, this time through housing. According to BET, the music icons are helping fund an $8.4 million permanent housing project called the Knowles Roland House, a 31-unit development designed to support people experiencing homelessness. The project will offer more than just a place to live. Residents will have access to social services, including case management, mental health counseling, substance use treatment, life skills training, and nutrition assistance through a partnership with the Community Development Corporation. The development is also supported by Bread of Life, a Houston nonprofit that provides food and shelter to people in need.
All right, folks, be sure to watch The Breakdown with Brittany Noble every day, noon Eastern. You want to get caught up on the headlines of the day? Check it out. Again, The Breakdown with Brittany Noble every day, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. All right, when I come back, I got to call these hypocrites in MAGA. Yeah, they're deserving of it. As relates to the funeral of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. I'll do that next.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up, not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and I'm watching the Black Star Network.
So, all you the Donald Trump MAGA-loving hypocrites, we're seizing on remarks by several people at the homegoing service of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., including multiple presidents, Reverend Al Sharpton, Jamal Bryant, and others. And so they all were running, oh my God, this is a shame. And they were all using this clip from former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr.
Dad believed that funerals were not for the dearly departed. He believed funerals were for the living. He believed that they were great gathering meetings. And no two lives in human history will have the same number of people attending their funerals, or the same people will be at their funerals, because your friends ain't my friends ain't your friends. We don't know the same people. You don't know the same people that I know. Do not bring your politics out of respect to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the life that he lived to these homegoing services. Come respectful and come to say thank you. But these homegoing services are welcome to all, Democrat, Republican, liberal, and conservative, right wing, left wing, because his life is broad enough to cover the full spectrum of what it means to be an American. We only ask people to come and be respectful in the context of the extraordinary life that he lived. Dad would have wanted us to have a great meeting to discuss our differences, to find ways of moving forward and moving together. And if his life becomes a turning point in our national political discourse, Amen. Amen.
Now, oh, MAGA, they were all running their mouths. Oh, my God, look at that. This was just shameful. Like this MAGA, this black maggot, Reverend Jordan Wells, go to my iPad, he was the one sitting here. Hell, he's part of the Blexic and all of them the fools. Again, boy, they kissed more Trump ass than Melania. And so he was one of the folks. Also, you had this other one, Jeffrey Meade. He's always with his MAGA talking points. And a whole bunch of white folks. This was just a shame. It was a shame watching this and the comments they were actually making. You mean the same Reverend Jackson who called out Donald Trump, the same Reverend Jackson who called out his lies, the same Reverend Jackson who ran for president twice, the same Reverend Jackson who had no problem speaking truth to power when it comes to what was happening in this country. See, it's amazing to me, again, when I listen to these folks and they whine and complain, and they whine and complain. Oh, my God, this should not have happened. This should not have happened. They shouldn't have been calling out Trump. See, they don't give a damn about Reverend Jackson. They don't care about his agenda. They never liked him. They called him a race hustler. They called him a shakedown artist. Oh, we know what y'all said about him. So don't act like all of a sudden y'all care about Reverend Jackson and his family and stuff along those lines. No, we know in the case. Y'all mad because the twice-impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief got called out. Y'all mad that folk talked about the importance of black folks organizing and mobilizing. That's what y'all mad about. And see, y'all, they have been posting, listen to what Reverend Jackson said about Donald Trump years ago, at his Wall Street conference. I saw all of that. I saw all of what they saying. They were all running their mouths, but they didn't mention this.
Reaction to what Donald Trump said, and one of the main points he's made was you think he needs to apologize. Given what you think of his views on this, what does it matter if he apologizes?
Well, it matters, it will show remorse. He saw a lie as a victory. Therefore, he was speaking to the audience that he mobilized around fear and ignorance in the first place. If he were sincere, he would apologize to President Barack Obama for disparaging his name and his family name, or to Hillary Clinton, as the case may be, or to America. That was no apology, just a declaration of victory that somehow he validated President Barack Obama's Americanness. His mother and father did that.
They ain't gonna play that. They're not gonna play that. They ain't gonna play that. So y'all are hypocrites. Y'all are hypocrites. Y'all don't care. Even the two I showed, that Jordan Wells and that other me, they ain't standing up for black folks. They are MAGA apologists. So I don't give a damn about none of them. What you're not gonna do is try to pimp Reverend's funeral, and y'all wanna pimp what Jesse Jr. said for your own rhyme and reason. Now we're gonna call you out. And I was smacking them back and forth on social media, Randy, and I'm like, oh, all y'all can go to hell.
I'm sure that you did, Roland, and I'm glad that you were there to tell them to go to hell. You know what they do. They always pick and choose. They find one line in order to push their agenda. It's all propaganda. That is what the Republican Party has turned to right now, a clown, a farce, and a joke. A circus. Shouldn't say a clown. Some clowns in there, but a circus. So I'm glad that you're handling them. Unfortunately, and hopefully it makes you feel better, because you know they don't learn. You know they don't learn and they don't listen, because that takes a level of intelligence. You have to be open to learning and open to changing, and doesn't seem like who they are, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't recall any of them playing this Reverend Jackson clip.
Well, you know, the speech was full of hope and inclusion. And he reached out to cities in a way they've not been reached out to for a long time. But with that must come a target, a timetable, and a budget. If you're going to say, look at Atlanta, and where you have lead in the water and lead pipes, need for infrastructure, that will cost money and priority. Or if you demolish those houses, it cannot be rebuilt. Jobs. The grass is growing up, landscapers, jobs. Do some reconstruction. So if urban reconstruction becomes a policy, not just a speech, it's good.
But we know he didn't do that. Yeah, but see, MAGA ain't gonna do that, Larry.
No, they love being outraged over everything. Listen, Black homegoing services are very community-centered, and I appreciate, Junior talking about if everyone can come and celebrate the life of the great Jesse Jackson. But the reality is, these folks don't care about Jesse Jackson.
Nope.
Or the views or his fight against apartheid, right? He fought for unpopular things throughout his career. We can talk about, obviously, his work with Dr. King to fight for racial justice. We can go on and on and on. He was always on the right side of history to fight on issues that today, many of these folks, these Republicans, and some of these Black Republicans you highlighted, wouldn't agree with. So, look, they can go kick rocks. We don't continue to celebrate Reverend Jackson's life, but we also have to remember, as we talked earlier about the Black Republican from Virginia, there are always going to be people in our community that cannot be trusted with the culture or identity that we always have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and Mustafa, I don't think MAGA gonna play this one.
In this language of Donald Trump has been a source of shame for our nation, and humiliation and untruth. With Africa, we have a trade surplus with Africa. Every firestorm tide driven down the American road came from the plantations of Liberia, the gold from Ghana, uranium and diamonds from the Congo. Africa is the most abundant continent and the largest continent, where the Indian and Atlantic Oceans come together and kiss at the tip of South Africa. And as for Haiti, Haiti was our ally in the Revolutionary War. Every baseball Beirut ever hit was made in Haiti. So it's just flat out ignorance. But the American public deserves better. But you get what you vote for, what you don't vote for. 2018 will be a chance to make a difference. If we vote our hopes this year, not our fears, we can stop this tragedy.
Oh, it's amazing how they couldn't locate any of those clips.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is the audacity of caucasity to whitewash anything in America that does not meet their narrative. If you knew Reverend Jackson, you knew that he cared about economic justice. Yes, he wanted to make sure that whomever was vulnerable had an opportunity in our country, but he also made sure that he continued to love Black people and to highlight the fact of the disparities that were going on inside of our communities. If you knew Reverend Jackson, you know that he cared about housing justice and understood the disparities that existed inside of that space. If you knew Reverend Jackson, you know that he also cared about transportation justice and environmental justice issues, and he understood the impacts that were going on because he actually visited the communities on the ground. If you cared about Reverend Jackson, you would also understand that he made sure that his reach was large enough to go across the planet, as we just saw in that previous clip, to highlight the impacts that were happening in Africa and in Haiti and a number of other locations across our country. But if you only have the ability to see through a caucasity lens, then you'll never see the true Reverend Jackson.
No, that's not going to happen because, see, they want you to believe the lie. They want you to keep advancing the lie. And here were a few more words that Reverend Jackson had to say about that twice-impeached, criminally convicted commander-in-chief.
President, and you and he had I'd say, a times contentious relationship. Let's talk about your history with the Clintons and how you've watched them over the years become the first family of the Democratic Party.
You know, I met Hitler many years ago working in the Delta Block.
I'm advanced that because they were asking about the thug-in-chief. Let's see here. See if I can find that part of it. I think we got it right here. Go.
That I know and that we all hear from think that Donald Trump is a stone-cold racist. Do you agree with that?
I don't want to go into the branding. I think that is unfortunate this race has come down to branding. He calls her crooked, smucking. What really matters is it's almost childish to be branded. He is the Republican Party's face. And if we lose, he would win and be America's president. And so labeling him at this point is just another headline. Where does he stand on affordable health care and race disparity and poverty? In this city, for example, 500,000 people here are functionally illiterate. 400,000 have jail records. In this city, unemployment for whites is 3%, for blacks is 12%. In this state, Pennsylvania state, blacks 5%, state Penn, blacks 49%. That's real stuff. Chicago, 100,000 vacant homes and abandoned lots, Detroit. So we need to think. I thought he would have been running on his ability to deal and reconstruct. Right. He's gotten sidetracked into becoming a kind of a comedian. I think that's beneath his capacity.
Down on the stage draft speaking, someone named Sarah McBride, the first openly
Ain't gonna play
transgender
none of
person.
that. That's not a shock to me at all. So all y'all MAGA folk, again, y'all can all go to hell with your fake love and care and concern about Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. When we come back, Shop Black Star Network Marketplace segment. Back in a moment.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, a relationship that we have to have. We're often afraid of it and don't like to talk about it. That's right, we're talking about our relationship with money. And here's the thing, our relationship with money oftentimes determines whether we have it or not. Balancing your relationship with your pocketbook, that's next on A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
How you doing? I'm Mark Curry, and you're watching the Black Star Network. That's why I got these glasses on, because that black star is bright.
All right, folks, 10 years ago, she was 8 years old. Ava Dorsey decided she needed to create a healthier, happier world for pets, people, and our planet. So she created Ava's Pet Palace. That's right, it provides healthy treats to pets. Ava's, all right, we lost her signal, so let me know we got Ava back. I'm sitting here going through, yeah, so staff, y'all didn't eat stuff this week, huh? Mm-hmm, that's right. So let me know we got Ava back. Yeah, that's right. Because Randy last week they ate some of the food. It was 2 weeks ago they ate some of the food and they got busted because they like, oh, you weren't supposed to be here and your ass wasn't supposed to eat the stuff. So we've got so Ava, are you there?
Yes. Hi.
All right, good to see you here. So let's talk about Ava's Pet Palace and. You got some pretty cool treats here. I'm looking at the snapping salmon, the turkey poppers, the salmon puffs, and the gone bananas, and also what I got right here.
Yes.
The cheese, please. And so how did you get around to deciding what snacks you wanted to put together for animals?
So, well, I've always loved animals, and that has been the main thing ever since I first started when I was 8 years old. When I first started, it was actually my peanut butter, cheese, and banana, those three biscuits. And I did well as much as when I was 8 years old, just figuring out what animals like to eat, they could eat for them. And those were my first three recipes that I ever started making.
And folks, just so you know, the audio issues we're having because there's a storm that's coming through Chicago right now. So that's what's impacting her signal. And so you said peanut butter and bananas. That was the first one?
And cheese.
Peanut butter, banana, and cheese. Boy, that's a hell of a combination. And so you begin. So how did you begin to grow the business? I mean, when you first had the snacks, were you making them yourself? And then how did you then start with a wider manufacturing, then distribution?
Yeah, so I was making everything in our kitchen when I first started. That was on 2016 when I first got started. It was around 2020, 4 years later, when things began to really take off. Social media became a really big part of like how we began to grow. Our community started growing, and it was really at that point where it was like, wow, Able Pet Pals, like this is something that I can actually do. It wasn't just a hobby for me.
Right.
I wanted to do something that was me. And we began to grow and scale, getting into our first local retailers. We have
So
3
what?
different co-manufacturers.
So Ava, what happened? Did your mom and your daddy say, "Listen, I'm tired of you messing up my damn kitchen. We gonna have you got to get out of my kitchen with all this pet food stuff, and also your pets, were they dogs or cats or something else?"
Both. So I grew up around a lot of animals. My first ever pet was a cat, and then we always had dogs growing up as well.
So you got your own petting zoo over there?
Yes, our dog now, her name is Lacey. She's our taste tester, all of the treats. If she doesn't like them, they don't make it into the lineup.
Okay, all right. So if you give it to Lacey, how do you know Lacey don't like it? What's the reaction?
Well, Lacey, she's very particular with the treats she likes. So sometimes she'll sniff the treat for a little bit and then she'll eat it. Then like that's still a pass. That's still an okay for her. But if she just completely turns her nose away, it's a no. But sometimes we've gotten lucky with a few where she'll eat them right away.
So when Lacey turns her nose up, you go, yeah, okay, let's move on.
She's a very picky. That's why we can say we're picky pup approved as well.
You're picky puppy approved.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. All right, questions from my panel. Let's see here. All right, let's see. Larry, you got any animals?
Well, I had a dog. Unfortunately, he passed along a few months ago. So,
Randy, I know you got some chirping dogs at your house.
I have a grand dog, actually, who is actually coming to see me this weekend. So I'm hoping I can get some of these treats in time to give them to my dog. Now, he's not picky. He'll eat anything, but I definitely want to support this amazing business. I'm so incredibly impressed.
Randy, hold on, Randy. Mustafa, you got any animals?
No, sir.
You like, yeah, we good. All right. So let's see here. Randy says you got a grand dog coming. Go ahead and ask the first question.
You say on your website, you talked about the industry being inclusive. Are you talking about the animals? Or are you talking about with people? Because I was just wondering, are you going to expand your treats past dogs and cats? You know, so many people own different animals now. Or what did you mean by inclusive?
So yes, first of all, in the pet space. So I feel like there are not that many businesses within the pet space, and there definitely weren't started. So that has been something that we're really proud of, you know, being able to have and add inclusivity into the pet space and grow in that way, as well as our treats. Still organic, very limited ingredient, but we do want to expand past dog and cat treats. So at some point, food, treats for other animals, really just treats for all pets, and making sure that if you have a pet, Ava's Pet Palace is the place to go.
Larry?
Fantastic.
Yeah, so you've been doing this for quite some time now. What is one lesson you learned from being in the business?
Yes. Lessons. I would say that there are going to be times I'm going to want to, you know, there's going to be times where your mood is going to like kind of, how do I say this? Your mood is going to be one way, but that discipline piece, and you have to want it. You have to get after it and go after it because what you want to do, what you want to achieve, why you started. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of things you learn and have to move past. But just remembering why you're doing what you're doing and what you want to achieve is very important. And that is one of the most monumental things I've learned.
Mustafa, go ahead.
Ava, what message would you?
Oh, I think Mustafa froze. Hold on, Mustafa, you froze, so ask your question again.
Yeah, Abe, I was saying, what message would you send to all the young entrepreneurs who are watching the show tonight?
I would tell them that if they have a business, an idea, anything that they want to do, accomplish, to just go for it. I feel like it sounds so simple, but a lot of times you really need, what is it? Yes, just go for those 3 words, and to just go after what you want. It's not going to be going to be, things you're going to have to overcome. And there is no perfect time. That's something else that I've learned and I've taken in and really had to just remember, is that there is no perfect time. There's going to be times I'm going to wait to do this. I'm going to wait to start. But the truth is that you create that perfect moment, and it's not going to come unless you create it.
All right, then. So, all right, folks. So, Ava, y'all, it's called Ava's Pet Palace. And so her products are going to go, of course, on our table over here. These are all the Black-owned products that we have with shopblackstarnetwork.com. So let's see here. Ava, I'm going to put, see, man, we running out of space here. So, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to move this here. I'm going to stack the curl prep stuff right here. And Ava, your stuff is going to go right here. So, y'all, Ava's Pet Palace, her products are in more than 300 stores nationwide, but you should get them from shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can check it out right here and go, again, so you see her products right here. Go to our marketplace, shopblackstarnetwork.com, to see Ava's products. You can buy them all right there. Ava, we appreciate it. Good luck. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. So again, folks, all of these products here, these are all Black-owned products you can get by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. And so you can get Ava's Pet Pals, those products and everything else. Let me thank Larry, Randy, and Mustafa for being on today's panel. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, if you want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That QR code is for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to P.O. Box 57, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mail to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003-7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You get our merchandise, our hats, T-shirts, hoodies, zip-ups, mugs, all that stuff right there at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And again, all of these products right here, all Black-owned products you can actually get. We've got backpacks and dolls and crossword puzzles and skin care, candles, toilet paper. Man, we got all kinds of black stuff here. And so go to, so when you buy the products from shopblackstarnetwork.com, you're supporting this show as well. And so again, we got some great stuff you can check out here. Again, we've got our STEM dolls, we've got HBCU gear, we got chips. Man, we got all kinds of stuff, car wax solution, candles, you name it. So go to our marketplace at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And of course, download the app Fanbase. Be sure to get that as well. Don't forget, check out Brittany Noble every day at noon. The breakdown of Brittany Noble right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!